Marco, thank you for having me here. Just so you know, if this is your first time in Tel Aviv, you made it to one of the hottest clubs, Haoman on the ground floor. You're maybe 5-6 hours late, but still, hopefully, you will enjoy the scenery.
We're usually early.
A bit too early. I met Marco, about 6 years ago. I was working on a travel startup called Superfly. I was at the NOAH conference in San Francisco, I think the only one that was in San Francisco. I was introduced to the only travel guy I could find, someone that worked for Priceline at the time. He didn't know what I was talking about and didn't invest in the company, but we did become friends. He later became the head of Corp Dev of Priceline and then later the CEO of Priceline, and came to Israel many times to visit with myself and with Israeli startups and ended up making other investments in other companies. Thank you to Marco for, again, bringing us here. The people that you'll meet here, if you don't do business with them this time, definitely you'll do with them business the next time you're in Israel. So let me talk about Barrel Protocol. There are a bunch of Europeans in the crowd. So my second and last question, how many people know what GDPR is? Excellent. Entire house. So GDPR compliance is a set of regulations that the Europeans basically came in, put their foot down and said, hey, we want you to use data in a very specific way. We don't want you to abuse PII. We don't want you to abuse the consumers. There's a bit of a different notion between the US market. In the US market, people are very worried about the government, but they're happy to give all their data to Google and Facebook. The Europeans are slightly different. They're OK with giving all their data to government, but slightly more concerned about giving that same data to companies. See if I can go now. Oops. 1 second. There we go. So that's us. That's myself. I worked at eBay and PayPal in San Francisco. I was the founder of Superfly Insights, which I'll talk a little bit about. My co-pilot, Lee, should be in the crowd. He is literally a pilot, so not only my co-pilot, but he's a pilot. And Ido, he's basically our CTO, head of Pi Data, a community of about 20,000 people. As we talk about blockchain solutions, you'll realize there is the kind of idea and the awareness and how do you spread the word, but also about how do you build a community of engaged engineers that love the data, that love the API that you're building, and can help you build various applications on top of that. There we go. Oops, I think I went back. Clicker. There we go. That's better. We have an amazing team of investors and advisors. We have the people from Ripple. We have people, the founder of ITA Software, notable investors from Israel. I will point out Moshe Bareket, the head of, he used to be the head of Phoenix Group, insurance company. So as you think about more traditional companies, a lot of them are trying to find ways to bring their data on board without any concerns of actually hurting the users. And those companies are going to be first in line, I believe, to use our service. So, last note, we are in partnership with NEO, one of the biggest platforms in the world. It's like call it the Asian or worldwide Ethereum, as well as Wings, an Israeli team that is helping us build this product. So when Mark Andreessen talks about software eating the world, he really means data and algorithms are eating the world. We know this issue firsthand. As the founder of Superfly Insights, which I still lead and manage today, we bought and sold massive data sets on a regular basis. We collect the data, we clean it, we analyze it, and we sell it. We have a panel of 16 million plus users. We analyze all their anonymized digital receipts. The users are anonymized, the receipts are anonymized, yet still we have a bunch of issues around privacy and compliance. If you look at our last Q4, we focused on the ride-hailing world, and within that world, we managed to secure 4 of the top 6 ride-hailing companies. I can't mention their names, but 4 of the top 6 are currently customers of our data. So where's the problem? If you look at just the New York ride-sharing world, you can imagine that these 4 companies are all interested in the exact same piece of data. So they buy our data because they get insights on their competitors. They understand the types of discounts that they use. They understand their market share, their growth, their driver economics, et cetera. We went through a 3 to 6 month process with our first customer, and then and sold the data, and then we took the exact same data set, sold it to its competitor, and had to go through another 3 to 6 month process on the exact same data set. And this is something for us as a small company who's paying a lot to lawyers, we were very upset about. And we said, why do we have to continue working in this bilateral notion? Why do we have to keep on ratifying, verifying the same piece of data again and again and again? Now, in the past, if you were a big enough company, people just trusted you. But in a fragmented environment, blockchain is uniquely suited for solving this type of problem. So you basically open up a protocol, the same stuff that we did internally, you open it up to the world, and say, if 2 or 3 nodes confirmed that a piece of data is now clean, then why do I have to go through that process again and again and again? And we realized that this doesn't only apply for e-receipt data, but this applies to location data, clickstream data, connected car data. Essentially, every piece of data set that is bought, is sold repeatedly, can leverage a technology to reduce the cost of this GDPR compliance. I'm going to talk about reducing the cost of GDPR compliance in a negative way, though we believe that the regulation is critical and important to build trust in this type of environment. People speak a lot about data in 2018. It's kind of like oil. We're a little bit tired of that kind of model of thinking about it, but a couple of things are very consistent across the 2 models. So go back to 1848 or even earlier when the Industrial Revolution began, people understood that oil had value. They understood that if they have a field, they can extract value of it. Early refineries were being built. No standards, no exchanges, and it was really the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. I didn't change anything about the slide except data in 2018. Still, people understand the value. People understand that these early refineries like we're building are coming onto the stage. No standards, no exchanges. I'll pause on that very briefly. The data set that Superfly Insight sells around e-receipts cannot be combined with any other data sets of e-receipts. No standards, no understanding of validation. Each and every company has to mix and match and spend a bunch of resources to make that work. So these people will talk about this model, but in order to make kind of fulfill the promise of data, you have to build these refineries. You have to turn data into a digital commodity that can now be bought and sold without any concern of actually hurting the end user in any specific way. So I mentioned location data and clickstream data in digital receipts. In the last minute and a half that I have, I'm going to try to run you through a very clear overview of what Beryl protocol is. So Marco said to speak to you like speaking to either 3rd graders or grandmothers, and so I'll do it really, really slowly. A refinery. You have a type of data, let's refine it. Let's build a protocol that helps to cleanse the data and make it into something that can be sold. If it's e-receipts, let's remove the email, let's remove the address, or let's obfuscate it, but let's analyze the transactions. If it's connected cars, I don't want anyone to know where I took a car at 2 a.m. in the morning, but I understand that municipalities can leverage the value of aggregated data. So that's a refinery. Data lookup, really simple. I got a piece of data. I have a link to it. Has that data been cleansed? Has that data been analyzed? Is it GDPR compliant? Just a lookup. Really easy public ledger of looking up any piece of data. And finally, we call it the GDPR certification. If you represent a company or know a company that is sitting on a massive set of data, and just as an example, Intel considers themselves a data company today, but it could be insurance, banking, credit card, et cetera. These companies will have to start bringing their data onto the blockchain. We will help provide a service that does that, a certification process, a safe haven, a way of very easily streamlining that data into the blockchain. I will skip the exercise that I wanted to do at the end, which about how do we build a kind of 3rd-generation hedge fund that incentivizes the people that create value, essentially the analysts and the alternative data sets, and just leave you with this final thought. Data is, in fact, the new oil, but if unrefined, it cannot really be used. It has to be changed into gas, plastic, chemicals, et cetera, to create valuable entity that drives profitable activity. Same thing with data. We have to change it into digital commodities. A bunch of the companies that you represent are already creating that type of data, and that data needs to be put on the blockchain. Thank you very much.